Hello there guys, what is going on? Son of Chelsea back here again for another edition of Let's Talk Chelsea, a later evening edition of Let's Talk Chelsea, mainly because I was waiting to see if Raheem Sterling was going to be announced today. It looks like he isn't, given how late it's getting, and apparently the video or the announcement is being worked on by Chelsea. I would suspect tomorrow is a good day for it, which I know is going to frustrate people because closer and closer to the deal, then we got the agreed sort of completion on Saturday, and then you're kind of like, we got the medical, when is it going to be announced? You know, he's flying out apparently to America, obviously to meet up with the fellow Chelsea teammates, but I think tomorrow is probably a good day for it. So obviously got some content around there. I'll not only cover sort of his announcement, hopefully his interview, what he says, becoming a Chelsea player, but also I've got another sort of separate video arranged where I'm going to be speaking about sort of the stats and kind of tactical side of Raheem Sterling and what I think he'll bring to Chelsea this season. But this news video, Serge Gnabry, his name has emerged because it now looks very likely that Raphinha, the deal is off basically from coming to Chelsea. He's going to end up a Barcelona player. So is Ousmane Dembele. Not sure how financially that's going to work out for Barcelona, but that's the way it is. That's the reality. So Chelsea are kind of quickly moving on, and we've got a piece by Matt Law of what could be next for Chelsea in terms of attacking targets this summer, and then kind of also how that links into Cristiano Ronaldo and basically the rest of Chelsea's attack this season. Before we do get into the news, my opinions, all of that stuff, I have started a new newsletter basically, which kind of sounds weird, just a newsletter on Substack, because there's been a lot of people who've started that recently and I've been really inspired by that. So hopefully this is going to be a weekly thing. I released the first piece, a long piece about Thomas Tuchel and what he needs to do to evolve Chelsea's team on Sunday. That was yesterday, so please go and check it out. Link in the description box below. It is free to become a subscriber to it. You basically can set your email, and then anytime I post a new piece or whatever it is, it will go straight into your inbox. So hopefully you enjoy it, and hopefully you do subscribe, and it is going to be something I'm going to keep up with. Please go down in the description box below. The link will be there as well, and make sure before we do get into the video, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of the uploads. But this piece from Matt Law from LA, because he and I know Adam Newson as well, my colleague at Football London, all out in America now covering Chelsea. The Chelsea SWOOP for ex-Arsenal winger Serge Gnabry as Raphinha alternative. Chelsea are interested in former Arsenal winger Serge Gnabry as the club consider potential alternatives to Raphinha and hold talks with AC Milan over a deal to offload Hakim Ziyech. Barcelona are hopeful of signing Raphinha ahead of Chelsea, who had agreed a 55 million fee for the Brazilian after submitting an improved offer to Leeds United. Raphinha wants to join Barca, and Chelsea are now likely to concentrate their attention on signing new defenders following the addition of Raheem Sterling. Head coach Tuchel still wants to add at least one new forward. The 26-year-old Gnabry only has 1 year left remaining on his Bayern contract, and German reports have claimed that he would cost around 34 million. Gnabry scored 17 goals for Bayern last season and has netted double figures in all of his 4 campaigns with the German club. Having joined Arsenal as a 16-year-old, Gnabry spent 5 years at Arsenal, during which time he spent an unsuccessful loan spell at West Brom. Gnabry has an impressive scoring record for Germany, having netted 20 goals in 34 appearances for his national team. I just want to add on top of this, Ben Jacobs tweeted earlier today, because of course still I saw Tuchel was asked by a fan out in LA about Ronaldo. This is what he said: a Chelsea move isn't likely despite a meeting with Bowley and Mendes. Tuchel does not think it makes football sense to sign Ronaldo, and Sterling's arrival isn't likely to change his mind. Relief on that side, because you know my opinions on Ronaldo and why I don't think it'd be a good move. Same with Neymar. But in the case of Gnabry, I've mentioned him before. If you've been a long-term subscriber, I made a video around June or July 2020. I think it was just before Chelsea returned, Project Restart, that time of the season, of like 3 favourite non-Chelsea players who I'd like to see Chelsea sign, or something along those lines, and Gnabry was one of them. He is someone that I have followed for a long time. He's been kind of one of those non-Chelsea players that I just have followed. I found his talent quite interesting, and then particularly how it went at Arsenal, where it looked like he was going to become a big player for them. I think he had some injury setbacks, went on loan to West Brom, and ironically I was there for his debut off the bench, where he, I think, did a Cruyff turn against Cesc Fabregas, which went viral. Very exciting talent, but then it didn't really work out for him in England. Went over, I think, to Werder Bremen, had a loan at Hoffenheim, I think was signed by Bayern Munich and then loaned to Hoffenheim and then came back to Bayern Munich and of course is the player he is now. I mean, Chelsea know a lot about Serge Gnabry because he ripped us apart in that defeat to Bayern Munich. I think it was in February 2020 in the round of 16. Really electric player. I guess the big question with any Bundesliga forward now is how they're going to adapt to the Premier League. But I've always been a fan of Gnabry. I think he just has a natural talent and a natural kind of energy and inspiration on the pitch, I think, to get into great positions and really take responsibility when he has returned to England. If you've seen it against not only Chelsea but Tottenham, I think earlier in the same season, ripped them apart as well. It just, maybe there's a sense of, inspiration that he wants to prove people wrong here, and maybe the sense that it didn't work out. And his contract situation is interesting. It hasn't been resolved yet. And again, looking at kind of more naturally wide players again for Chelsea, and Gnabry being another one of them. Rob Prattley, someone who's reporting a lot of good stuff this summer, so definitely go and follow him, was talking about Gnabry as one of the alternatives to Raphinha, and the wages apparently were quite high, but that doesn't mean that Chelsea won't go in, and now Matt Law is reporting it. I think post Raphinha, Raphinha, Chelsea did all they could to sign Raphinha. I don't think you can have a go at the club here. They agreed a fee. When you agree a fee, I tweeted this earlier today, when you agree a fee for a player, 9 times out of 10 you sign that player. It was just in this case that the player really, really wanted to go to Barcelona, waited for Barcelona, and of course Barca somehow have managed to do the deal. How long that lasts, God knows. But he's going to go to Barcelona. I think Raphinha would have been a very good player for Chelsea. I think he absolutely suited what we needed on that side. But at the same time, you look at the current attackers we have. Callum Hudson-Odoi, I wonder if this is a sliding doors moment in his career. I just want to get out of the Hudson-Odoi limbo we've been in for so long, where we kind of have similar conversations about him. And I think this is such a big pre-season. He's come back apparently looking sharp. He's bulked up. Apparently mentally, inside of those injury problems that he's had consistently, he hopes are behind him. I mean, we have to see how that works in pre-season, especially in the intensity of the season. But in a hypothetical situation where Chelsea don't sign another attacker, you feel like Hudson-Odoi has got a really, really good chance to get a lot of minutes this season, particularly if Hakim Ziyech is going to make that move to AC Milan, which I would not be shocked at. Some people have made this point in a recent guest of mine in the FC. I think we may have even talked about Ziyech because he's a fan of Ziyech, and if Tuchel's going to move to a back four, letting go of Ziyech may be a mistake, because suddenly a role that Ziyech could have fulfilled is going to be there, but he'll be somewhere else. So that's an interesting point. I don't know if you guys agree. Maybe you want to keep hold of Ziyech now, and it's a mistake by Tuchel to let him go. But Ziyech has gone independent in terms of his agency. I think he's just doing it with a lawyer. The new HZ sort of agency that he set up last week, he gave that statement. I think he's going to be on the move. I've said on the channel before, I think it's probably the best thing for him. Whether it's the best thing for Chelsea, we have to wait and see. Harvey Vale could be an academy breakthrough this year, one of those ones in the attacking area. We've kind of speaking in midfield, we're speaking about defence, Levi Colwill, Conor Gallagher, but maybe Vale's an unexpected one. Again, Chelsea don't invest in a new attacker. You think Harvey Vale, off the back of a confident run at where he was captain at the under-19 championships, where they won England, and he set up basically the winner in the game, a really brilliant left-footed cross into the box, and he's someone that still has sort of a future to resolve at Chelsea, and maybe wants to see that pathway there. And for Pulisic and Werner, I mean, Werner's been linked away for so long, and it just kind of felt like it was the best time for him to move on. But if he sticks around again, it's maybe a great chance for him to prove people wrong, prove myself wrong, that he can still make it at Chelsea. I think there's a lot up in the air. I think I am one of these people that looks at the situation now and goes, listen, we need to recruit elsewhere. And if the attention has to be turned elsewhere, which it does in terms of new defenders, in terms of maybe wing backs, in terms of maybe even the goalkeeping situation, a Kepa situation, if he was to move on, do we need a second choice? A lot more questions, I think, have to be answered if you sort of further back in the team. I think we have to get a new centre-back in soon, because they have to start acclimatising to life at Chelsea. And if they aren't going to be Nathan Ake, if they aren't going to be a Premier League level defender, I think it's very important they get a decent pre-season. So on that side, it's still very confusing, because Matthias de Ligt, despite Chelsea's clear interest to spend big on him, it looks like, again, a bit of a Raphinha situation where Bayern apparently have agreed personal terms. It's all about that fee now. Things have gone quiet. Koulibaly's been mentioned. Gleason Bremer is another one I brought up. There's been some hope on that aspect. Whether Chelsea would actually go in for him, still yet to be seen. I still think that Jules Koundé will become a more relevant name. That's not on any inside info. I just think logically, in terms of the fact that you have 50% of a deal done there for Jules Koundé, and a lot of people were getting annoyed about sort of Raphinha wanting someone else. Well, Jules Koundé has been waiting for Chelsea for so long, and Chelsea still haven't done the deal. And I just think that with Koundé, what I think he'd bring to Chelsea, versatility, I think that longevity potentially, and some of the speed, particularly on the right side of Chelsea's attack, and defence going the other way. I think the way he could work with Reece James quite well. I just wonder whether Chelsea, in terms of opportunity and just convenience, would go back to Koundé and see that as a good deal to get done, because Nathan Ake, apparently City aren't going to budge in terms of like 40 to 50 million, and my logic has always been, why spend 50 million on Nathan Ake when you can spend a little bit more? Probably is what Sevilla want. They're probably going to ask for a higher price, but it's not going to be 70, 80 million for Jules Koundé. It's probably going to be about 60 at most, and I think that makes more sense to me, Jules Koundé, than Nathan Ake. And it's gone quiet in terms of another defender. Koulibaly continues to sort of be out there, and I'm sure there's other names. Kimpembe, of course, from PSG. I'd say Bremer and Koundé would be sort of my dream too if you're going to sign two defenders this summer. So those are my thoughts on the situation. We await the announcement of Sterling, and we await to see what Chelsea are going to do in terms of where they move next. You know, is Serge Gnabry going to pop up as a massive target? What's going to happen with the likes of Armando Broja? His sort of situation at Chelsea still up in the air. The other defenders like Marcos Alonso and Cesar Azpilicueta, who apparently have agreements with Barcelona personally, but the terms still need to be agreed with that. And what do Chelsea do defensively? I want to know your opinions, because I think where Chelsea go from here post Sterling is really interesting, and I feel that defence is kind of the most obvious one. Who do you go for in defence with certain targets, maybe costing a little bit too much, or kind of realistically Delit wanting to go somewhere else? Let me know in the comments below. But thank you guys for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss any of the uploads. I'll be back tomorrow, hopefully all about Sterling, his announcement, and hopefully some more exciting news from Chelsea's pre-season. Thank you guys for watching again, and I'll see you again very soon. All the best.